Hey, what's up, guys? It's your boy Rob here. Welcome to our second episode of the day here on the Flame Entertainment and Sports. This is a breaking news type of episode because this morning, Thursday, January 8th, the Miami Dolphins fired Mike McDaniel. So the plot now thickens. For those of you that don't know, we released our first episode of the year this morning, actually, already. We covered, the NFL playoffs that start this coming weekend. I gave some predictions, but then we brought on our guy Jerry, and we covered all the craziness in the coaching world in the NFL, including Harbaugh, Kevin Stefanski, and of course we talked about the Dolphins. But now, with the news coming out this morning that Mike McDaniel has been fired, there's even more to talk about now. So I had to make sure to hop on here and at least do a quick little breaking news type episode for you guys out there. So yeah, basically, like I said, McDaniel is fired. So now the Dolphins, they've already been, doing interviews for their general manager position. They cut down the list now to four candidates. They're all coming in person allegedly today. And one of the guys I really want to highlight here is Chad Alexander. For those of you that don't know, Chad Alexander, he is currently the assistant general manager of the LA Chargers. But before that, from 1999 to 2019, he worked in Baltimore. So he knows John Harbaugh very well. And now he's worked with Jim Harbaugh ever since leaving Baltimore and heading to the Chargers. So he's worked with both Harbaugh brothers, and the alleged, rumor out there is that John Harbaugh, wherever he lands next, allegedly he wants to bring along Chad Alexander as his general manager. So I think it's very significant that on the day the Dolphins announced a second interview for Chad Alexander, they also fired Mike McDaniel. And now I think a lot people are taking the Dolphins a lot more seriously than what they had been taking them in the previous couple of days. I feel like people had mentioned the Dolphins for Harbaugh, but it was kind of like a passing type of thing. They weren't really considered favorites by many people. But now with McDaniel officially gone and with the team bringing in Chad Alexander to Miami, and this is another thing of note, like for the initial first round of interviews for each general manager candidate, each interview took place on Zoom. So the fact that they flew in four of these finalists and one of them being Chad Alexander speaks volumes. And I think there's a really good chance now that the Dolphins could actually shock the world and change everything. If Stephen Ross and the organization they're able to pull this off and bring in John Harbaugh to Miami, it'll literally change everything. And this will be the guy that changes it all for us, and this will be the decision that will allow Stephen Ross to finally sit back and let the football guys that know what they're doing come in and let them work their magic at the end of the day. So, I couldn't be more excited. And, ultimately, we're going to see what happens if we are able to land Harbaugh here. Ultimately, we're going to have to wait and see on that. There's no guarantees at the end of the day. But I just felt, doing an episode like this was something important and necessary so that Dolphin fans and NFL fans in general have the news right now that's going on. And like I said, Chad Alexander is in Miami allegedly for an in-person interview. And like I said already, he is allegedly the general manager that John Harbaugh wants to pair up with in his next destination as he continues, his Hall of Fame head coaching career in the NFL. And then something else I wanna talk about too is a tweet from Albert Breer that came on a little while before I started recording here. He said the Dolphins interviewed their interim GM Champ Kelly yesterday and are completing interviews in person with Green Bay's John Eric Sullivan, San Francisco's Josh Williams, and the Chargers' Chad Alexander today. And that'll be it, at least for now. Table set for GM decision soon. And there's been multiple reports outside of Albert Breer. There's been multiple reporters out there who have said that the Dolphins are trying to get this GM search done with as soon as possible. So, if we see breaking news, maybe sometime Thursday night, like, I'm recording this Thursday afternoon, if we see some news tonight or maybe even Friday morning, right, tomorrow morning, that the Dolphins hire Chad Alexander, I think that will pretty much guarantee that John Harbaugh will be the next, head coach of the Miami Dolphins. And just the fact that we're attempting this, I think, should be something that the organization and Stephen Ross should be praised for by all the fans, because just the fact that we're going after one of the all-time greats, I think, speaks volumes and shows that Stephen Ross truly does care about winning, regardless of all the stumblings and all the things that have gone on here over the years. We do at least got to give them credit for going after Harbaugh. Now, ultimately, the deciding factor in whether it's just an attempt or an actual hire, we'll have to just wait and see on. And, we just got to be hopeful and root on our team at the end of the day and hope that they could finally, land, one of the all-time great head coaches, right, in NFL history. So, yeah, guys, going to wrap up this breaking news episode of the Flame Entertainment and Sports. Now, I didn't want to make it too long, being that we already put out an episode. like I said already, for those of you that haven't checked it out, make sure to head to our YouTube channel. You can check it out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. And like I said, I go over my NFL playoff predictions, starting with this weekend's wild card matchups, and then I bring on Jerry and we get into some coaching news, talking about Harbaugh, talking about Kevin Stefanski, and then some other Dolphin thoughts that we put out there. But now, I had to make sure to put this out there now that Mike McDaniel has been relieved of his duties as head coach, and it seems as if the Dolphins are closing in on a general manager and are heavily pursuing John Harbaugh. So yeah, guys, gonna wrap it up. Once again, thank you so much for tuning in. Please make sure to keep up with us on Instagram and TikTok at the flame_ES. Subscribe on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, or Spotify. Fins up. Until next time, everyone, take care.